Do you wish you had some kind of cheat guide before you became an adult? Things that school or maybe your parents don't teach you? Then check out the book called Adulting 101, My First Apartment and Car. Just search Adulting 101, My First Apartment and Car on Amazon. You can find it there. And it's about the basic things that we take for granted, like the common skill of checking apartment complexes at night before you sign your lease, or doing a background check on your roommate before you move in together, or not co-signing for something. The book is designed to help those parents or guardians help their young ones transition from their home successfully. Whether that is getting a roommate, how to spot a really crappy landlord, or how not to buy an awful car, these are some of the things that they've learned throughout their own personal experiences. So check out Adulting 101, My First Apartment and Car on Amazon and give your kids the cheat codes to things that we wish we had. Check out Adulting 101, Things I Wish I Knew, My First Apartment. It's available on Amazon or at stoverconsulting.net. That's STOVER consulting.net. It has a ton more information on that website. Go check it out today.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast for this Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. And boy, oh boy, do we have some things to talk about today. Things that go beyond Monday Night Raw. We'll get to the Stephanie McMahon resignation in just a minute. First, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Just very quickly plug, if you want to go ad-free, you can on Apple Podcasts. There's a subscribe button for 99 cents a month or $10 for a year, or on patreon.com/WWE Podcast. And I also plug the Patreon side of things for not just $1, but if you go at the SmackDown tier and higher $5 or more, you're going to be able to get some video feedback, video reviews, and I'm going to be going a little bit more in depth on my thoughts on the Stephanie McMahon resignation over there on Patreon for the SmackDown tier and higher. So not a bad time to sign up, but boy, okay, here we go. Let's go. I mean, I don't know how I start with Raw because the bigger news, I definitely will get to Raw. There is a lot to discuss on Raw and really some good stuff. I know I've been hammering Monday Night Raw, but there is a lot to be said about Monday Night Raw. And again, I think there's some positive things about Raw. So we will get to that in just a minute. But first, the big news of the day is Stephanie McMahon. Just 3 hours ago as of this recording, I'm recording at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Tuesday evening. She put this out at about 7 o'clock. She is officially resigned from WWE. She is gone. She is no longer there. Now, well, I shouldn't say immediately. She didn't say immediately, right? Like, I would imagine it takes effect right away. But she's, for all intents and purposes, gone from WWE. And let me just read her tweet to you, because this is very telling if you dive into it at all. There's a lot to be said here. Okay, so here's what she said. It's going to be a little bit of a story time here, but it's worth dissecting because there's more to see. She said, "Dear WWE Universe, about 8 months ago, I took a leave of absence and within a few weeks unexpectedly had the opportunity of a lifetime. I had the privilege to return as the co-CEO and chairwoman of the board of WWE. I cannot put into words how proud I am to have led what I consider to be the greatest company in the world, working alongside a remarkable leadership team and one of the strongest executives I have known in my co-CEO, Nick Khan. Our founder, Vince McMahon, has returned as executive chair and is leading an exciting process regarding strategic alternatives." That's a very fancy way of saying we trying to sell, yo. And with Nick Khan's leadership and Paul Triple H Levesque as chief content officer, I am confident WWE is in the perfect place to continue to provide unparalleled creative content and drive maximum value for shareholders. She goes on to say WWE is in such a strong position that I've decided to return to my leave and take it a step further with my official resignation. I've got something to say about that in a second. Her final paragraph is, I look forward to cheering on WWE from the other side of the business where I started when I was a little kid as a pure fan. I will always remain dedicated to WWE. I truly love our company, our employees, our superstars, and our fans, and I'm grateful to all of our partners. Thank you for everything. Then, now, forever, together, Steph. Okay. There's things in here that don't make sense. That just stand out as glaring issues with what she said. To me, the number one issue is this statement here. WWE is in such a strong position that I have decided to return to my leave and take it a step further with my official resignation. Name another company in which things are going so well that the CEO resigns. Why would you resign if the company's doing so well? Explain that to me. Shouldn't it be the opposite? When things are going so poorly? How many times have we seen CEOs of all different types of companies, Fortune 500 companies, CEOs resign when things are going extraordinarily poorly? Not when, as she's trying to frame it, that they're in such a strong position that she's decided to leave. They're doing just so well, I'm going to give up my job. Well, if they're doing so well and you care so much about the company, why would you leave? Isn't that part of the leadership that's so successful that you are telling us is in such a strong position that it's so good that you just need to leave? How does that make sense? If things are so good, why change? Why try trying to fix something that's not broke? So that is a very, very telling statement. I've never heard a CEO or any type of, really not just CEO, let's take it further, management at all, or really go even further. Let's take it the whole way. Any employee of any company, whether it's, you know, your first line workers to middle management to upper management to executives, I have never ever in my life heard anyone say things are going so well at this company, I have to leave. I have to put my resignation in. Think about that. What does that even mean? Well, it means that she's trying to frame it like things are in such a good position that they don't need me. That's, I guess, her implication, but it's preposterous. Now, of course, WWE is going to do just fine without her, but if you take 1 second to skim beyond what she's trying to sell you, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there is so much more to this. I mean, clearly it has something to do with Vince back on the board. Maybe she has another venture outside. Maybe she's probably going to do some kind of some kind of executive position in another entertainment company. I would imagine that she's going to be in something else that is executive role for an organization, or hell, she may start her own. I mean, we don't know. I mean, she's not old, right? She's what, in her 40s? Got another 30 years plus of work if she wants to. Ultra talented, clearly knows her stuff. You know what? It just doesn't make sense. You know, none of that makes sense. That is the most preposterous statement. But if you dig into other stuff, the exciting process regarding strategic alternatives, isn't that about as corporately just deodorized as it gets? That is like saying it's not you, it's me. It's like saying we're taking the company in a different direction. You're fired, right? Like it's such a corporately disguised, icky way of saying, yeah, Vince is back and he's looking at selling the company. If you could hit the translate button on this in plain language and take out the corporate speak, that's what she's saying here. And of course, Nick Khan still is the CEO of WWE. Nick Khan he's now the sole CEO of WWE. So no longer is Stephanie McMahon involved at all. The thing is, though, when you look at this too, Remember, she did mention at the beginning, 8 months ago, she took a leave of absence. And then within a few weeks, things unexpectedly happened. And oh, wow, the scandal with Vince came out. Huh. Well, if Stephanie's leaving right now, perhaps more stuff will come out that's not so great about the company. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's getting out so she has plausible deniability when something does go public that, well, I wasn't involved with the company when it happened. I left. You know, so it's strangely, she did this 8 months ago and then the scandal with Vince came out. So, I mean, that's my speculation, but we don't know. Now, people have been speculating too, including myself, about, you know, Paul Levesque, Triple H. Is he going to follow suit? And a lot of people I've talked to have said, yeah, I think so. And while it would kind of make sense that he does, given that they're married, and that if he did, maybe they could just have a normal life. They've certainly got enough money to just kind of kick back and have a very, very comfortable life if they want to. But I don't think Triple H wants to follow here. I hope he doesn't, because I think he right now is having the time of his life, getting control of creative and seeing through his vision of what WWE could be. And the fans have reacted very positively. Fans have reacted generally. I know some people are like, whoa, Vince is back. Yay. I've actually seen some people so excited about Vince being back. And I'm not understanding it from a creative perspective. If you're one of the people that are looking at this through the lens of shareholders overseeing a potential sale, you know, monetary reasons, you know, lining your own pockets, I get it. You know, Vince is a very skilled businessman. He's been doing this for 50 years. We get it. And I understand. And I actually would agree. But if you're somebody that's sitting here going, man, I need Vince McMahon back on creative, we need to have a conversation. We've seen the Vince McMahon creative the last several years, and it hasn't been great generally. He's the reason we're all here. He created a multi-billion-dollar business. He took wrestling national. Yes, he kind of weeded out the territories, but the territories back then weren't willing to make changes or do any kind of change, so they kind of shot themselves in the foot, and Vince McMahon took wrestling national and made it a global phenomenon that it is today. It's the reason, Vince McMahon is the reason I'm sitting here speaking into this microphone right now. So I'm not going to crap on his career because of the scandal. You take even the scandal out of it, he should have been gone because he's mentally deteriorating. It's just a fact. All right. As I've said before in this show, death is undefeated. That is the only thing undefeated in this world is death. Nobody has yet defeated death. So, with that said, I don't understand why, if you are somebody that is a fan of creative, why you would want Vince McMahon back, because you know exactly what you're going to get. Triple H has yet to really see through his full vision of the company. He has yet to see it through. He's got control, 8 months ago? Less than that? So we have yet to see even a full year of what Triple H can do, much less a multi-year vision, because really seeing your vision through takes years. You know, we haven't even seen a Vince McMahon-less WrestleMania yet. What does that look like? Let's hope that Vince McMahon somehow doesn't get his grubby hands on creative before WrestleMania. I really hope he doesn't. Triple H is doing generally a very good job. Certainly some things that aren't great, but there's nobody that could be perfect in creative. It's impossible. So that's my thought initially on the Stephanie McMahon deal. Again, I'll be doing a video on this shortly that'll be posted after this show to my Patreon subscribers. So check that out if you want to join. All right, well, let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Of course, no mention of Stephanie McMahon on Raw because, well, number one, it was on Tuesday that this happened, and I don't think they would announce that really on Raw anyway. But we got a Kevin Owens open here to Monday Night Raw, and it got quickly interrupted by JBL. And JBL interrupted, and you're like, is this 2005? Like, what era are we in? And it was nice to see. I mean, look, JBL is a very talented on the mic guy. He still could, if he could wrestle, he still could be a top heel in the company. I really believe that. He's very talented on the microphone, and I never really hated his wrestling. I thought he did a very nice job when he was champion on SmackDown for 10 months. I really liked it. And it's just a shame that he can't take a bump here and there, or even take a stunner. I'd love to see him, get his ass kicked, because he's doing such a good job. But maybe he's doing too good of a job that it's not transferring to Baron Corbin. And boy, are they trying to make Baron Corbin a thing. He is not a modern day wrestling god. That's not sticking. I don't believe it. It's like calling Roman Reigns the big dog for like 7 years. I don't care how many times you say it. You're not going to beat me into submission to believe it. It's kind of the same thing here. I just don't. It doesn't fit Corbin. If you want to call him a boring Baron, hey, we have something to talk about. But Baron Corbin, it's so weird what Baron Corbin is. Like he's a dude that's very sound in the ring, has had some good to really good matches. He's the last guy to beat Roman Reigns. I think he did it in December of 2019. That feels like an eternity ago. He retired Kurt Angle at WrestleMania a number of years ago to the very, very angry WWE fans that felt it should have been John Cena. We all do. And he's gone through many iterations of himself. He's tried to evolve. And the best version of himself was the bum Corbin. The bum Corbin was one of the most fun versions of himself that I don't think they got enough mileage out of. They could have kept going with it. But my point is that Corbin, what he is right now, feels just kind of like just vanilla. And I know they feel that adding JBL is going to be that spice that he needs, but they're like oil and vinegar or oil and water. Is that a better analogy? They're both heels. Okay. But they don't feel like they have on-screen chemistry, and the heat isn't transferring like they want it to Corbin. It's just staying on JBL. And JBL can't wrestle anymore, so I don't think it's working. I don't think it's a disaster. I just right now don't feel like it is something that is gelling very well. But again, I'm willing to continue with it. I wouldn't pull the plug on it yet. Give it some more time, maybe even push it to more of the main event scene, and see what happens. But here, this was meant to put heat on Corbin. Of course, JBL runs down the South, using the typical stereotypes. He's got an obsession with the kind of the woke language and snowflakes, and kind of dipping his toe into the political realm of things, which I think can be a little dangerous. I don't care what side of the aisle you fall on. It's just not a good mix. Keep politics the hell out of wrestling. I don't care which way you lean. It's a bad idea. So he's always got that. He always has to call people snowflakes and woke or whatever. And I just think it's a bad idea. But he talks about the one generation removed from walking on all fours, and basically just saying that Southern people are dumb and they're not evolved and all this the typical stuff. And the people buy into it. They still boo him. But this ends up in a match with Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin, and Corbin loses. He gets stunned, and that's pretty much it. The Bloodline did run in from the crowd though, and they attacked Owens, and he fought them off with a steel chair. I actually expected Sami Zayn, after he fought all three of them off with a steel chair, hit Solo Sikoa, that we were going to see Sami Zayn come in and haluva kick Kevin Owens, and that didn't happen. I was very surprised about that. But he fought all three of them off and stood tall. Right now, Kevin Owens is going to be made to look very strong over the next several weeks, building to the Royal Rumble match. And it's going to be a fun one. And the match this coming Friday with Sami Zayn is going to be very telling on how things are going to go for Sami Zayn, because I think Sami Zayn is going to lose that, continuing the downward spiral with Roman. To me, that's almost a slam dunk. All right. So what else do we happen on Raw here? We got the Alexa Bliss promo. It was interrupted by Uncle Howdy, and Bliss called herself, quote, the face of evil, and said she had the whole world in her hands after attacking Bianca Belair last week. Before she could continue, a video came on. It featured clips of her when she was with Bray Wyatt. It showed a playground, but not the one that she sat on backstage, but one that was representative of what she used to be. Just an actual playground. They must have found one somewhere and filmed it. And Uncle Howdy appeared and most notably said, "Do you feel in control?" And then he actually came out and stood there and didn't walk any further. He just kind of stopped. And that was it. No Bianca Belair to get redemption, nothing like that. They're selling the injury. I like that. And continues to try to, I would imagine, place Bliss in a heel role, but I think people are going to embrace it. I don't know if people are going to really boo Alexa Bliss, because Alexa Bliss has done essentially not much of anything since she left Bray Wyatt a couple of years ago and had the infamous worst match in WrestleMania history, the most confusing and bizarre and just awful finish to a program of Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt a few WrestleManias ago before COVID. And I think that fans are going to embrace this. I really think that, because Alexa Bliss goes all in and she's believable, and I love her delivery on the microphone. She just has a very believable presence to her. She's got something about her delivery that is, it doesn't feel like she's acting. And that's a really, really important skill to have. It doesn't feel like you're playing something. It feels like you are that thing. So I think the fans, if they're trying to position her as a heel, it's going to be a difficult uphill battle. We'll see. Because also, Uncle Howdy, we don't know who and what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the conscience of people and saying, do you feel in control? Implying you're really not, but your sense of control is a false feeling, right? It's supposed to say that, yeah, you can feel in control, but you're really not, right? That's the implication. We'll see, but another step forward here. All right, Bayley then takes down Michin with a backslide. She got a cheap pin with her feet on the ropes, and it really ended the match. Damage Control attacked Michin backstage later in the show. Has Bayley ever felt less inspiring right now? Bayley right now is just in a very bizarre place. Becky Lynch wasn't really involved here. Bayley's in a holding pattern, I hope. I hope this is not a sign of things to come for Bayley. I think that this is just let's get to the Rumble and then we'll kind of reignite you and give you a shot in the arm of whatever you're really going to do. I hope that's the case, because if it's Bayley is just going to kind of hang out in this weird kind of mid-card place, it just doesn't feel right for Bayley. She feels just like she's going through the motions, out of energy. So I'm not concerned about her career. I wouldn't take it that far. But I would say that she's felt uninteresting for quite some time. So that can easily be changed. She's super skilled, and she has the ability and talent to immediately become relevant in just like a week's time. Bobby Lashley then returned and attacked Austin Theory, but that came after Theory was cutting a promo with Seth. Seth said that his knee is injured, but not serious enough to miss the Rumble. And then after Rollins left the ring, Lashley's music hit and he returned, since he was, quote, fired in the storyline 4 weeks before that. And then he hit Theory with a spear and threw him from the ring, and announcing his intention to win the Rumble. So again, some people have to have these qualifying matches. Others just declare it. That's just kind of the way things go, guys. Oh boy. But I'm just making a joke of it, because if I rant about it, there's no point, right? So Lashley has, announced his intention for the Rumble. That's a big entry into the Rumble. It's one of those he's not in the real consideration to win the Rumble, I don't think, but he's in that like dark horse, long shot, but in the universe of possibility, like in the top 10. So that's what I would say for Lashley. But it's nice to know that Lashley will be in the Rumble, as well as Theory, as well as Rollins. And beyond that, Lashley also was backstage in a couple of segments with MVP, who's trying to mend fences with Lashley and trying to get the Hurt Business back together, as MVP mentioned that we had Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, who were also interested in rejoining. And I like how Lashley wasn't quick to rejoin, and he said he didn't forget what happened and all that. I like that, because it wasn't like the babyface was just suckered in and, yeah, no problem, bro. Water under the bridge. I'm glad they didn't go that road, because they are also, number one, it makes Bobby Lashley look smart, given that they broke up and got back together like 6 times. And same with, really, Cedric and Shelton are the ones who really need to do some thinking here and soul searching, because they're the ones that got ousted and used and beat up and brought back like too many times to count. It was embarrassing at one point. And they should have never broke up the Hurt Business when they did. But that said, they are clearly trying to reform this group to oppose the Bloodline. They even said that blatantly on Raw. they out loud said that that's the purpose of them trying to get back together, is to, oppose the bloodline and potentially take the tag titles off the Usos, all that kind of stuff. So they need a group to oppose the bloodline. And do I think the Hurt Business is going to be an actual threat to the bloodline? No, but they're a formidable force and it would be a fun program. So I'm cool with it. And Lashley versus Roman is a fun main event too. So I don't hate this. And they're taking the right approach too. They're taking the right approach of hesitancy on the side of Bobby. By the way, where the hell's Omos? Like, was that explained? Maybe I missed it. Seriously, I really don't know. But where did Omos go? Is he injured? Does he go back to create? Did he go back to NXT? Is he? Yeah, I don't know. Is he back to bouncing for Raw Underground? We don't know. All right. Rhea Ripley then took on Candice LeRae and she beat her. That is, Rhea won with Riptide as expected. Candice LeRae, I don't know if she might have won one match since her return, maybe her return match, and that's it. But Rhea Ripley gets the victory here, as she should, continuing to solidify herself as a main event player that's eventually going to challenge Bianca Belair. I still have her as my favorite to win the Rumble and challenge Bianca Belair, so we'll see if that comes to pass. Solo Sikoa then takes out Dolph Ziggler with a Samoan Spike. God, I love it, Samoan Spike. I'm so glad they brought that back. Ziggler had turned down an opportunity to tag with Mustafa Ali in the Turmoil in favor of attempting to get revenge on Sikoa. So instead of doing the Tag Team Turmoil match, he decided to try to take out Sikoa, and that was a failure, as would have been their Tag Team Turmoil match. So really, Dolph, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because the result would have been the same, and that's you looking up at the lights. So, I mean, let's call a spade here. But Ziggler is still ultra talented, always sells his ass off, and I have nothing bad to say about his work. He is, and that, I think everyone knows that. It's well known WWE, and he was once looked at as the second coming of Shawn Michaels and all that. And I would never want to be looked at as the second coming of anybody, because I can see a cute little line of, I don't want to be the second anybody. I want to be the one and only whatever. I mean, I remember Roman Reigns even saying that. I want to be the one and only Roman Reigns. I wouldn't want to be the second coming of anybody, of Stone Cold, of The Rock. I wouldn't want to be compared to those guys, because you will never be the original. And if you are constantly associated and viewed as the second coming of that person, you are doomed from the start. You may get an initial rub and an initial look like, oh, wow, he does kind of have similarities to X wrestler. But the problem is, you will then forever be compared to one of the greatest of all time, of Shawn Michaels or Rock or Austin or Taker, whatever. It's just never a good thing to say they're the second coming of whatever, or the, Shawn Michaels 2.0 or whatever. So I think Dolph from the get-go, when he had that comparison, was doomed, among many other things, including his win-loss record, which I'd love to look up at some point. And then eventually adopting the Sweet Chin Music, probably out of just spite of saying, you guys think I'm Shawn Michaels? You think I look like Shawn Michaels? Then I'm going to adopt his finish, which ironically is a transition move for about 15 other guys. All right. Then the main event, which was a long, drawn-out main event for the Tag Team Turmoil match, which earned whoever won this match a title shot at the Usos for their undisputed tag team titles. They didn't say when or where, but I would presume the Royal Rumble. I'd presume it, but maybe I missed when it was going to take place. They're not shy, certainly, of doing it on SmackDown or a televised event, but I would imagine it's the Royal Rumble. So let's see. Where did we get the matchup here? Oh, let's see. The Judgment Day and the OC were first. Finn Balor rolled up Luke Gallows. That brought out Cedric and Shelton. And then earlier, I'm reading a description of this match to make sure I don't miss anything. We already talked about MVP and Bobby to reunite to Her Business. But after Finn rolled up Luke Gallows, that did bring out Cedric and Shelton, who were next. The Judgment Day beats them after Balor hit Alexander with a coup de grace, and that led to Alpha Academy coming in as the fourth team in the match. And lo and behold, to everyone's shock and awe, the Alpha Academy lose this match, because I don't know when the last time either of them in either tag competition or singles competition have won a match. I don't know. But the most encouraging part of this is the Alpha Academy got a pretty good pop, especially Otis. When he did the caterpillar, i.e. Scotty 2 Hottie's worm, he did that and the crowd popped. So there may be something there, even in their losing streak right now, to get that kind of reaction. is encouraging. Now, given it's opposing the Judgment Day, who are the most hated group on Raw, it still is encouraging. So they might be able to build off this, even though they've been on an awful losing streak. So Alpha Academy loses because Damian Priest hit Otis with a lariat. And Otis was trying to finish off Balor with a Vader bomb, but Balor pulled Gable on top of himself. And then Balor was, quote, medically disqualified after being crushed by Otis and Gable. That led to Dominic being put in as Priest's new partner. So this is an interesting revelation here, or a development, not revelation. Let's not get dramatic. An interesting development because this is the first time that Otis has accidentally hit Gable, and it could lead to the split of Alpha Academy. Could. I hope it doesn't, because I like them together. And if they did actually push them a little bit, I think there could be some success here. But if they're going to split them, then probably this is what's going to happen. I mean, this could be the very beginnings of it, because we had Otis accidentally splash Chad Gable. And we'll see. If they don't address it at all next week, then it was just a part of the match. That's the finish. We just needed to get a way to get Balor out of the match, and this is a way to do it. And no harm, no foul. But if it's brought up next week, and there's some kind of riff building between Gable and Otis, then yeah, that's leading to a split, no doubt. Okay, and then in a really good, probably the Street Profits' best match in months, the Street Profits were next when they took on the Judgment Day. Now, don't forget, it's Dominic now and Priest, not Finn and Priest, because Finn was medically disqualified. So Dominic did end up pinning Montez Ford with a roll-up while his feet were on the ropes. And then Ford hit a 450 splash on Mysterio, seemingly having the match won when he was pulled out of the ring by Priest. Ford managed to take out Priest, but Mysterio pulled him back into the ring with a roll-up and put his feet on the middle rope while Rhea Ripley held his feet for the assist. So Rhea Ripley continuing to rear her head in these matchups and assist her little boy. Mommy is assisting, Dominic here. This man, okay, first of all, there's a couple of things to go over here. All good stuff here. Number one, how many times has Triple H ended Raw with heat on the Judgment Day? More times than I can count. Triple H, and that's one of his philosophies that I think Vince McMahon didn't really follow or felt was passé or just wanted to make people smile at the end of a show. Triple H is definitely utilizing the anger emotion in fans more than Vince did. And I love it because it gets fans invested. When fans are super angry at something, they're not going to say, I'm not watching that again, because they want the satisfaction of the payoff. They want to see their heels get their ass kicked. So they're going to tune in next week. If they get the payoff every week and they're left happy, and they know they're going to be left happy, number one, that's predictable. But number two, why are you blowing off the payoff? Because that's kind of a more apathetic vanilla feeling than just, oh my God, I'm so tired of the Judgment Day winning. Because guess what you're going to want to do? You're going to want to see them come back and get their ass kicked. And I still am waiting for Edge and Beth Phoenix. That happened, 2 months ago? And Edge coming back for the 5th time against the Judgment Day. That hopefully is the final time that these guys collide, and Beth Phoenix probably going after Rhea. That may actually happen. I would, maybe even next week. It's possible because, we do have, Royal Rumble coming up, but it also could happen at the Raw 30th, the 30th edition of Raw, the 30th anniversary of Raw. I mean, it's going to happen, I think, this month. Let's put it that way. Edge and Beth Phoenix are coming back. Whether they have a mixed tag match or they have separate matches, you can bank on those two coming back and getting revenge on the Judgment Day in the next 4 weeks. Somehow, some way, return at the Rumble, before the Rumble, or right after the Rumble, going into the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Or, so that's my thought. But, okay, so that was point number one. The heat that Triple H is willing to give the Judgment Day is admirable, because I am angry. I know it's a show, but I still can't stand this group in a good way. Also, in my notes here, I was writing something here just as I was watching the show. Dominic's look with the handkerchief, or handkerchief, depending on how you pronounce it, and the sunglasses, and his promo saying he's done hard time, and how it changes a man, it's gold. And when he appeared on Miz TV this week too with the handkerchief and the sunglasses, and he said that snitches get stitches, and he's got the teardrop tattoo on his face. This is gold. I mean, and the fact that it was revealed that he spent like just a mere few hours in county jail before he was bailed out is just it's perfect for his character. It is. I love it. Dominic looking like he is just this tough guy when he's got backup, but a sniveling little weasel when he doesn't is perfect for his character. He looks like he does belong in a prison when he has all the gear on. He's got the toothpick. He's just an obnoxious D-bag, and I love it. It's all just gold right now with Dominic. I mean, he thinks he's such like this big badass because he spent just a couple of hours in county jail, right? Like, in making up these stories about how he slept on the top bunk and told the guy below him, you got something to say, and the guy cowered. And how, like, I love how he said he did hard time. I mean, I love it. It's great. And you still want to see him get his ass kicked. I can't wait. Now, Rey Mysterio, once he faces his son, is going to be fun, but Rey's not going to put the beating on him that we all want to see. But it'll still be fun because they're going there for WrestleMania, no doubt about it. But just, it's great stuff. Great stuff. All right, so yeah, the Judgment Day does beat the Street Profits, but the Street Profits, I have to say, they did a great job getting the crowd invested here. Great job. I mean, the 450 splash on Mysterio had me believing they could win that match, and the crowd was super into it, so give the crowd credit. But Street Profits deserve standing ovation here because they finally felt relevant where they have felt irrelevant for like 3 months now. So that was nice. When they get in the ring and just do what they do best, and that's wrestle, they are really fun to watch. Now we have a heel versus heel dynamic going on here with the Judgment Day versus the Usos. And to me, that's a setup for Edge and Beth to return, because heel versus heel, you don't really get super invested in that because you don't like either and you don't care who wins. You just want to see both lose if that could happen. But that to me is a setup for a babyface to interfere, and what better babyface than Edge and Beth Phoenix? So whenever this tag match does take place, which I would assume is at the Rumble, I would think that Edge and Beth Phoenix are going to interrupt and cost the Judgment Day the titles. So that'll continue the streak of the Usos and also reignite the Judgment Day, Edge, and Beth Phoenix program. So it's a win-win here. The outcome is very predictable, but it's the right outcome, so I'm all for it. I have no interest in, and nor do I think it's the right call at all to put the belts on the Judgment Day. In a normal circumstance, if we didn't have a super hot group that was running professional wrestling in the bloodline, I would say, yeah, Judgment Day, give them the belts. That would be great heat, but in this case, they just unfortunately are kind of a victim of circumstance, and an unusual circumstance of having such a dominant generational group like the bloodline. I would so go far as to say they are a generational group. They are as influential, I believe, in my time. Boy, I don't want to say that. I sound too old. But when I watched wrestling in the late 90s, DX, right? They were one of the big groups. In the early 2000s, of course, you had Evolution, later Legacy with Randy Orton. You had the Core. You had Nexus. I'm joking about the Core. Remember the Core? There was like a spinoff of the Nexus that I actually thought had a little bit of life to it, and then it just died quickly. But that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like Evolution status. Like I would look at them as kind of an Evolution type of group, because they are helping build new stars in Sami Zayn. That's what Evolution did. And Jimmy and Jay, who, granted, they're not, spring chickens, but they still have a decent amount of their career left, I believe. And Solo Sikoa, who I think is going to benefit massively from this. He's got a great look, fit perfectly right in, felt he immediately belonged. So that's really the goal of any group that's formed, babyface or heel, is to build new stars that eventually go on their singles runs, because the most success is found in singles competition, let's be honest. But the generational group that is the bloodline right now is running professional wrestling. I mean, they just are. And the storyline is the biggest storyline in all of professional wrestling, I would argue. Okay, MJF, whatever he's doing is also, always fun. And I think he's doing like an MJF, by the way, is he doing an actual 60-minute Iron Man match? Did I hear that? I don't know. Somebody point me in the right direction on that. I thought I heard that. But again, Judgment Day and any other scenario in normal times when we don't have a generational group, they should have the tag belts, but the Usos are going to keep it here. And I think that's the right decision. All right. What else? Oh, one other note I had about Raw is Kevin Patrick. Every week I have to say something about Kevin Patrick because, you guys know I'm just not a fan of him. Everything he says feels exhaustive. Like everything he says is like just very out of breath. This could be the opening he needs. Oh my God, he's been knocked over the barrier. I mean, listen, it's just he can't help himself. I know that, and he's doing the best he can. His delivery to me is just it's obnoxious to me. I'll leave it at that. But the one thing he did say, now beyond his always kind of corporately prepared open that he has every week when he welcomes us to the show, which is always just like thought out. It's almost like he sits down every week and he comes up with an open for Raw, and it's always like just so corporately created. But I'm not talking about that. When he said during the match between Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin that not many people kick out of Deep Six after Kevin Owens kicked out of Deep Six, I would ask Kevin Patrick, no. Not, you shouldn't be shocked of how he kicked out. The question is, how did he, not how did Kevin Owens kick out? The question is, who has not kicked out of Deep Six? I literally can't think of a single example of Deep Six ending a match. So what is Kevin Patrick talking about? In what universe has Deep Six ever ended a match? It's kind of like the Blue Thunder Bomb. It never ends a match. Ever. It's a fun little hope spot. It's a signature move. But it's never one that you're going, oh my God, the match could end here. It's just kind of a transition power move. That's all. Name it, Kevin. When he said that, I'm like, is he trying to be funny? Is he trying to be like a parody of like, somebody like, what is he doing here? And I'm thinking, nope, he's being serious. Like, and he says, not too many people kick out of Deep Six. What are you talking about? Everyone has. Everyone. All the time. It has a 100% failure rate of ending a match. So Kevin, stop insulting our intelligence. I know your job, and I understand, I respect it, is to embellish the match, is to try to create drama, is to try to get you emotionally invested and think a match could end at any time. But when you've seen Deep Six never, ever end a match, ever, stop it, please. All right. Well, that's my little mini rant for the week. But thank you so much for listening, everybody. I really appreciate it. Again, I'll be doing a video on Stephanie McMahon that'll be posted to my Patreon page very shortly. And I'd encourage you to head over there and head on over to Apple as well and hit that subscribe button. Get yourself ad-free for 99 cents a month or $10 for the year. And tomorrow I'll be back with the mailbag. If you want to contribute to the mailbag at wwepodcast.com, or the number to call in and leave a voicemail is in the description notes of all of our mailbag shows. So I think I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time. Do you wish you had some kind of cheat guide before you became an adult? Things that school or maybe your parents don't teach you? Then check out the book called Adulting 101, My First Apartment and Car. Just search Adulting 101, My First Apartment and Car on Amazon. You can find it there. And it's about the basic things that we take for granted, like the common skill of checking apartment complexes at night before you sign your lease, or doing a background check on your roommate before you move in together, or not co-signing for something. The book is designed to help those parents or guardians help their young ones transition from their home successfully. Whether that is getting a roommate, how to spot a really crappy landlord, or how not to buy an awful car, these are some of the things that they've learned throughout their own personal experiences. So check out Adulting 101, My First Apartment and Car on Amazon, and give your kids the cheat codes to things that we wish we had. Check out Adulting 101 Things I Wish I Knew, My First Apartment. It's available on Amazon or at stoverconsulting.net. That's STOVER consulting.net. It has a ton more information on that website. Go check it out today.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.